Yo, this is about the coronation, which is this weekend coming up. I am looking forward to the bank holiday. I'm not a colonist, or whatever you call it. Don't follow the royal family very much, to be honest. Um, so yeah, um, but still, it's something, isn't it? It's still a historic moment, I guess. And how much I don't follow them. This is something. This country needs leadership, though. Um, it needs to show it's um, it's got morals. It's got anything to it because it's got no integrity and it's doesn't take any accountability for their actions and their mistakes, and they blame anyone else for it, such as the NHS for protesting and teachers and so on because they're not getting the pay, they're not getting the support, and I mean, what kind of people who apparently supposed to be leading a country can't do that to their own people for their own people? It's shocking. And this what I wrote down is basically the food banks. So many food banks people have to rely on to get by. There's no support out there, and even people are starting to struggle to be able to afford a food bank. And everyone says, "Oh, it's fully due to the pandemic," but surely we should be getting out of that phase now and heading back towards the the new normality, which, however, that's going to be. And I get Ukraine Russia war has the same impact throughout Europe and a lot of the rest, but which should be denied and ignored and laughed at is that Brexit will have a lot to do with it. And that's what the people who pushed for Brexit wanted, who knew but didn't tell the people the consequences of Brexit because they thought people thought just freedom, independence, disconnection from Europe, but they didn't realise that people don't think more than just that. Because a lot of people who voted seriously aren't that intelligent enough to realise what could the consequences be. So, and the NHS is on the brink of collapse. They've had 20 to 30 years of absolute neglect, and it should not even. That should never. Not, of course, that should never be tolerated. They shouldn't even have a year with neglect. And as we saw with the PPE equipment for NHS staff during the pandemic, that was shockingly low. That was really poor. There's no preparation for the event of a potential pandemic ever. That's really bad. And the rating list for and also the salaries and the working conditions and everything for NHS staff is really poor. And also like yeah, they've been overrun, they've been outworked, and it's so unfair. Also, a lot of NHS staff who are from Europe had to go back because of Brexit, which is also disgraceful. Also, there's a massive waiting list for people who need life changing or life saving operations, which is shocking. And the A&E situations in crisis, people who can't go unless they actually really need serious emergency help, basically, which is very unfortunate. That's in this state, in this situation, and people are suffering, and industries are suffering, of course, as I said before, the cost of living and stuff, and it's just as well as people are suffering, and yeah, and the environment is being ignored and abused basically by human waste going into rivers and going into the sea, and animals are suffering, and yeah, wildlife should be one of the top priorities of people who are running this country. Should be the animals are protected, actually be protected, and should be cared for. And but I guess when you're out of touch and you don't even go into the countryside, and you mentioned DEFRA, but you don't really have a clue about them, probably, then, that's what the situation is, how this country's been run. Um, People are way out of touch and don't understand. Just talk words, and that's basically it. Um, and yeah, some species are endangered, or yeah, very endangered, and are suffering, of course, with the neglect there is. So yeah, and what the country needs to do. Oh yeah, and also save money instead of, why would you send refugees to Rwanda? What other country does something crazy like that? That's just, it's not very bright to me, to be honest. And also, so much obsession on stopping these boats coming over the channel. That money could be saved on the environment and also on vital um, industries like teaching and NHS and so on. So yeah, also like where there's the hedgehogs are really suffering. But beavers, there's only like 400 beavers in the wild in England, 11,000 otters, and hedgehogs population are very um, desperately low, which is tragic, of course. And where they are literally don't where they be extinct, let's say, they need reintroduction to be reintroduced, and also people and place people's gardens and any wild places, parks or whatever, where there can be a protected wild area as well as obviously the wilderness, where there's should be plenty, and I know that there is plenty. But like where people like if you got a garden, how you can have a ramp for animals to safely enter and exit ponds, and also like where people don't litter their gardens or litter parks would be also handy, and especially rivers and so on, and don't use chemicals in your gardens, um, because that, to be fair, is just horrendous for animals, and yeah, as you could probably imagine. And if you're gonna mow or trim your garden, just always check to see there's no animals in the long grass and so on. That's a massive thing as well. And then before you have a bonfire, check there's no animals hiding in where bonfires are. These are vital things, but these are things that are very important. And I think that um, for me personally, everyone knows me for my football content, and I'm going to keep on my football content because that's what I'm passionate about. But also, I'm passionate about for people who care about the environment, who care about the nature in this country, people who are in touch with the countryside, with wildlife, and with people like-minded, who and people in general. To be honest, we are a generation who should be taking a position from the generation before us, and so yeah, it's important. Anyway, back to my football content. Next content release. Cheers for watching, and yeah, thanks. I'm out. Bye.